Hi, hello everybody. Welcome back to Cook Along Kitchen. It has been several months since I've been here with you guys, and I am so glad to be back. For those of you that don't know me, I am your on-site health coach. My name is Shannon Parks. I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and every month, minus the last couple of months, I come on here to do a live via Zoom cooking demo for you guys to talk about how to prepare healthy meals, how to come up with some healthy meals. This year, 50% or more of the meals that we have created together have been plant-based as a huge initiative that we have. And so I'm really glad to be here with you today, again, to round out the end of the year, to show you how to make one of my favorite family meals that we have in our house quite frequently. And it's also a diabetic friendly meal. Initially, we were supposed to do this demo back in October, I believe, but with all the storms and all the things that have happened, we didn't get to do that. That was Diabetes Awareness Month. So we'll be touching on how some of these foods that we're going to create together today can help with diabetes. And I'll also be demonstrating to you how some of these foods can serve as food as medicine for our body, right? Sure, so many of us have heard that food can either help us heal or it can help us do some harm to our bodies. And so today we will be talking about how to utilize food as medicine and the nutrient properties associated with all of the foods that we're making. So there are three parts to the meal that we're making today. We are making fresh Asian style spring rolls. The protein that we're going to be using is shrimp. We'll get into all of that. We're also going to be making a dipping sauce for them and a nice salad on the side with that standard Asian restaurant dressing, the carrot ginger dressing. I'm really excited. So let's go ahead and dive in. While I wait for my pan to get nice and hot for those shrimp, I figured that we would review all of the ingredients that we have. So for those of you that have never made an Asian style fresh spring roll at home, you are going to use these spring roll wrappers. I picked these up at a local grocery store. They're really easy to find. You don't have to go to any specialty market to grab these. There's typically 10 or 12 in a package. It looks like we've got 16 in this package, which is awesome. These are made out of rice. So it's rice paper. They are gluten-free because of that. And so if anybody on here is gluten sensitive, you can still use these rice paper wrappers, and they store for a really, really long time. So we'll go over how to use these and the versatility that we can use with these. Now, what I really like about these is they're only 14 grams of carbohydrates for 2 wraps. So for those of you out there who maybe are diabetic, pre-diabetic, or know someone that's pre-diabetic or diabetic, you know, counting those carbohydrates is really, really important. These don't have much fiber in them at all because they are made predominantly from rice, white rice, and water. And so we're going to add some fiber to it. If you know somebody that works on blood sugar management, one of the best things for blood sugar management is making sure that we have fiber with our carbs. And the source of carbs today is going to be these rice paper wrappers. You could also use rice noodles in here. Again, those aren't going to have a lot of fiber in them, but we're going to get fiber from the veggies that we're having, as well as the salad that we'll serve on the side. So this is going to be our base. Inside of our rice paper rolls, we're going to use this green leaf lettuce. You could also use cabbage if you wanted to, but we're going to use this green leaf lettuce because it's also going to serve for the base of our salad. I've got some wilty leaves on the outside here after rinsing it. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of these. There we go. It looks nice and beautiful. So we'll be using this inside of our wrap. We'll also use some fresh cucumber. I've got some cucumber here. And then we've got some matchstick carrots. You could use sliced carrots, julienne carrots if you wanted to. I found these to be really easy. They're already pre-prepared for me, washed and ready. And then we'll also be using a little bit of cilantro in our wrap. You could also put things like cabbage, basil, onion. You could saute some onions and peppers and put those inside. These are really, really versatile. Make them into whatever you want them to be. Have fun with the ingredients. When I make them at home, I typically serve it in parts, right? So I've got my rice paper wraps, I've got all of my little ingredients in dishes and bowls, and all of my family members get to kind of pick and choose and build their own roll. My kids have so much fun making these at home. They like that it's hands-on, they get to play with their food, not something we allow very often. So that's gonna be the base for our rice paper rolls. Our sauce that's going to go with it is going to be a combination of hoisin. Hoisin is an Asian sauce. It is a sweeter sauce. So we're going to be using this just as a dipping sauce. We're going to combine it with some creamy peanut butter and a touch of rice vinegar to balance out the sweetness. That'll be our dipping sauce. If you wanted to make it spicy, you could always add some sriracha or some hot sauce in here. I'm not making it spicy. I'm really sensitive to spice, and I'm cooking for some of my colleagues today. So we're going to keep it really mild for them. As far as our dressing goes, you notice I have my blender here. We're going to be blending some things up. So in our dressing, we have a nub of ginger. I've already peeled it. So we've got that. We have the carrots. We're going to add some onion in. We'll put in some soy sauce as well, a little bit of the Truvia brown sugar to balance out the flavor, some avocado oil. I love this oil because it is a heart healthy oil and it has a lower smoke point. So it's not going to make your whole house super smoky. It also works really well in dressings that has a mild flavor, almost more mild than olive oil does. So we'll be using this, and of course some rice vinegar in there. And then I forgot the star of the show, the shrimp. So I've got 10 shrimp in here. These are large. I think they're 31 to 40 per pound on the shrimp. I did opt for peeled and deveined simply because I'm at work doing these demos. And so I don't want to get really, really messy with my hands. But if you wanted to get them, with their shells on, you could certainly do that. You would peel them, devein them, and then they'd be ready to cook. So let's get started, shall we? We're going to start by preparing our spring rolls first. So obviously I've got my shrimp here. My pan is nice and hot. I'm going to put just a touch of oil in there, just a touch. And then we're going to add our shrimp right in to the pan. Now these they came frozen from the store. They have been defrosting in the fridge for a couple of hours. Always advise you, if you have a frozen protein, defrost it in the refrigerator just for food safety purposes. Now, I do have several of my coaching customers who have asked me recently about the cholesterol levels in shrimp. So a lot of our cholesterol levels actually come from within our body. About 70% of our cholesterol levels are from inside of our body, but what we're eating does also increase our cholesterol, right? And cholesterol typically comes from animal products, your dairy, your meats, your seafoods. Shrimp is higher in cholesterol. However, we're balancing out the cholesterol with all the fiber. One of the jobs of fiber in our body is to package up all that excess cholesterol, bind to it, and then eliminate it through our waste system. So if we're balancing it out with some fibrous veggies or whole grains on the side, it kind of mitigates that cholesterol content. Shrimp is also pretty high in protein, so this is going to be a protein-rich meal, and we're going to use about 2 shrimp or so per roll. Now, you could totally make this plant-based if you want and use cubed tofu scrambles, or you can make it totally vegetarian without the tofu in it, but just be mindful we're missing a protein component at that point. So shrimp tend to cook really quickly. You notice I put the top on here. I'm trying to steam them so they'll cook a little bit quicker, and we're just waiting for them to turn opaque, nice and white, no longer translucent. I'm flipping them over here on our pan. And any questions throughout the demo, please feel free to come off of mute. As you can see, I'm a bit far away from the camera, so I don't have access to the chat, but I would love to hear your thoughts and your questions. So feel free to come off of mute and ask those questions. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. Okay, so while that's cooking, let's talk about these rice paper wraps. I'm going to go ahead and open our package here. I've got a secret hidden trash can right over here. So if you see me dropping stuff, I promise you, I'm not dropping it onto the floor. And so these rice paper wraps look like this. And If you can hear that, they're kind of hard, right? They're not very pliable, not very flexible. We obviously can't roll something like this. It's going to crack into a million pieces. So what you'll see here, hopefully you can see it on my table, I have a pie pan and I filled this with water. And so what we're going to do when it's time is we'll place this into the water. We'll let it soften for, I don't know, 15 to 30 seconds, somewhere in there. We'll pull it off. I like to use a glass plate because it's not going to stick as much. Put it on the glass plate and start layering up our ingredients. So stay tuned for that. These can also store because they're non-perishable and they're dry. Any that I have left over, I store in my pantry until we're ready to use them again. Let's go ahead and check. Yes.
You have a question. Do you recommend the use of olive oil instead of avocado oil?
So I would say they're on the same playing field. Olive oil has a more robust flavor. That's why I chose avocado oil. It also has a lower smoke point, so it's going to smoke a lot faster. And again, I'm in an office. I don't want to set off the smoke alarm. For those of you who were here with one of my demos earlier this year, I short-circuited the whole room. So we're trying to keep it really easy in the conference room. If you want to use olive oil, you absolutely can. You can also totally skip the oil and just steam these with a little bit of water. So whichever is your fancy. Our shrimp are cooked through. Yes, of course. Our shrimp are cooked through. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer them to a bowl of ice water. I want them to stop cooking pretty immediately. That's why I'm transferring them in. Yes.
Can you use regular fish in that? Have you used a lighter fish? Because I
never have.
Obviously.
I never have, but honestly, at home, I make these with beef or chicken sometimes too.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't have to be shrimp. It can be tofu. It could be beef. It could be chicken. It could be pure vegetable. Really, the sky's the limit with these. They're so versatile. So whatever suits your fancy there. Okay.
Yep. Thanks.
All right. Absolutely. Is that Debbie I hear?
That's me.
I thought I knew that voice. Good to hear your voice. Okay. So we've got our cooktop is turned off. That part, we're done with this part. The shrimp is cooling off. Let's make our dressing. Okay, so I have here my Ninja blender that I brought in from home. If you wanted to use a food processor, you could do that. I find it's really easy with the Ninja blender. That was just water that I had reserved in case I needed to add some water to my pan. So I'm just adding that to the bowl, nothing fancy there. Let's go ahead and add the stuff that we need to our blender here. So we're going to put in that nub of ginger, a large size piece of ginger peeled. I would definitely not recommend going with like the pureed ginger, the pre-minced ginger that you can get in the jar. That's going to have a lot of additives to it. One of the things that I love about ginger helps with blood sugar control. It's also amazing for our immune system. It is going to give your immune system a big boost. So this stuff is awesome. The more ginger you can have in your life, the better off you'll be. So I really, really love this. We're going to add this whole nub in. Now we're going to add in some carrots. Now, obviously, I have a bag of shredded carrots. The recipe calls for 4 large carrots. What does it say? About 7 ounces. This is a 10-ounce package. I'm going to use probably 3/4 of this package, and it's going to go right into our container here. Now, this dressing, it's going to make about 2 cups of dressing. This dressing stores for about a week. And you might notice if you put it in the refrigerator that it separates a little bit. That's totally normal. Just shake it up. So I like to keep my dressings when I make them at home in a little mason jar because they're really easy to shake and pour right from that jar. Okay, so I've got about 3/4 of that package of carrot sticks into our blending container. To that, we're going to add some onion. So I have a large white onion here. The recipe calls for a whole medium onion. I'm going to use about half of this. White onion can be really, really sharp in flavor, and I don't want it to detract from the carrot and the ginger. So we're going to use about a half of this onion. And onion, just like ginger, they both belong to the allium family, and the allium family is amazing for immune boosting. So onions are one of the things that, if I could tell you there's a food to eat every day, onions would be one of those foods. Super, super good for our digestive health, really good for our immune system. So we're gonna just quarter this guy. I get him down a little bit smaller, easier for my jar to handle. There we go. Okay, so we've got our onion in here. Let me set this guy to the side because I have a feeling if I don't, I'm gonna start crying pretty quick. I am so sensitive to cutting onion. Okay, to this, we're gonna add a 1/2 cup of rice vinegar. And again, this is available at your local grocery store. This is a mild rice vinegar. We're gonna add a 1/2 cup. Anybody on here, I'm gonna assume somebody on here loves the carrot ginger dressing that you get when you go out to an Asian restaurant. It's so good. I love it. Anybody else a big fan?
Yes,
would
I
be me.
am.
Yay, good. Have y'all ever made it before at home?
Have not, but we'll be doing so.
Yay, awesome. So we're adding a 1/2 cup of oil. Again, your choice, avocado oil or olive oil. I've got avocado oil on hand. It has a really nice mild flavor for dressings. So we'll be using that. 1/2 cup goes in. We're gonna add about 3 tablespoons of low sodium soy sauce. If you needed to replace this, you could also use tamari, which is a gluten-free soy sauce. So this is a 2 tablespoon measuring spoon. So I'm gonna do about 1.5 here. There we go. And a little pinch of brown sugar. And this is the Truvia brown sugar. Because we are being more mindful of the diabetic nature of this particular meal, we put in about a tablespoon of brown sugar. I wanted to use the Truvia because it's a non-nutritive sweetener, meaning that it's not going to spike your blood sugar to use a little bit of this Truvia. So I've got that. Okay, we're gonna screw on the handy dandy tap here. And then I think collectively say a prayer that I don't short circuit the room again. Because I think it was the blender that did it to me last time. All right, let's see if this thing will get blending. Okay. All right. As you saw, 30 seconds in the blender and we are done. Let's unscrew this and give it a little taste test. Make sure that all of our seasonings are nicely balanced. I have some sample spoons here. Spot on. Perfect. We love it. Nice and tangy, nice and zesty. Oh my gosh, I want to drink this. Wow, that is really, really good. Can't wait to have some. Okay, so again, this will keep in the fridge for up to a week. Always date the stuff that you make and stick in your fridge so that you're not out 2 weeks from now going, huh, why did I make that? Is it still good? This is all fresh ingredients. There's no preservatives in here. So keeping it cold will keep it lasting. This stuff is an immune boost in a jar, you guys, with all the wonderful vitamin C from the carrots, the immune boost from the onion and the ginger, the rice wine vinegar, helping with the blood sugar control, as well as the ginger. I mean, this stuff is really, really awesome. I am so glad we made this. Okay. Shrimp is still chilling a little bit, literally. So I'm going to whip together the sauce that we're going to be using. Now, you guys, so many variations on this sauce that we could have. I'm going to keep it really, really simple. And because I make this all the time, sure, with my heart, I think y'all have heard that from me before. So we're going to use, I don't know, probably about a 1/4 cup, maybe a 1/3 of a cup of hoisin. Get this at your local grocery store in the international food section. I'm going to put in here, say about a tablespoon of vinegar. I am going to measure that because vinegar is so overpowering at times. Okay, so we've got that in there. And now we're going to add some peanut butter to this. Let's start with maybe a tablespoon or so and see how that serves us. Peanut butter can be really overpowering in this sauce as well. So I want to make sure that we don't overdo it in the name of trying to have a good time. Okay, so we're just going to get this all combined together. Again, you could make this spicy if you wanted to. I am a weakling when it comes to spice, so I don't typically make mine spicy, but hey, you do you. Sriracha would be great in this. Hot sauce, you could even use some hot pepper in it if you wanted to, some diced up Thai chilies or something like that. This sauce also 1 week in the refrigerator, it'll keep for. And both the sauce and the dressing get better with time. Okay, so like if I wasn't doing a live cooking show for you guys, I probably would have made that dressing a day in advance and let it meld together in the fridge, but it's totally fine to serve it just as it is. It's delicious. It's just gonna keep getting better. Okay, let me come around and show you guys the sauce that I've got in my little bowl here. So this is our dipping sauce. Sorry, I'm trying to smooth out my peanut butter here. This is our dipping sauce for our spring rolls. Let's give that a try, see if we need to add any vinegar or maybe a touch more peanut butter to it. A fresh sample spoon, give this guy a whirl. Right on target. Yeah, right on target. Really good. Delicious. This sauce goes so quickly in my house. My kids absolutely love it. Like I said, this is one of their favorite meals because they like to play with their food. They're 6 and 7 years old, so that's on track, right, for that age. But they like the hands-on nature of this. So, okay, we've got our sauce. We'll set this to the side. I'm going to separate out some of the leaves of lettuce that we will use in our wraps. I'd say maybe half a leaf of lettuce for each wrap. I mean, our wraps are going to end up being pretty compact. I'm going to pull off, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 leaves of lettuce. We'll set this to the side. I'm going to chop the rest of this for a little side salad that I'm making. So I'm just going to remove the root end, toss that guy. I like to cut my head of lettuce in half because I don't know about y'all, but if you've ever been to a restaurant where the size of lettuce is bigger than the size of your mouth, it's very hard to eat. So I like to make these really small bite-sized pieces. Super easy to enjoy. And again, you could make this salad as colorful as you wanted to. I'm keeping it really, really simple today. So we've got our lettuce in a bowl. I'm also going to take our cucumber. I like to skin not the whole thing on the cucumber, but parts of it. So I'll skin like 4 sides just to get some of the cucumbers. Unless I buy the English cucumbers, the skin can be really tough. And so I don't want people to feel like they have to chew forever to get to this meal. Kelly, I was so sad to see that you're remote today. I felt like this is a cook-along you would have really loved to participate in.
I can't tell you how bummed out I am. I totally forgot that this was today.
I'll keep some of the dressing handy in the fridge here so you can enjoy some tomorrow.
Ooh,
I
sounds
can't
good.
promise there will be any fresh wraps left.
Drew is going to guard it for me.
I will.
Good.
It's actually my fault. She's remote today because I'm having the holiday party on Friday for our benefits team. So that's my fault. Sorry, Kelly.
Or it's not, it's fine. And I'll bring in some fresh veggies so I can enjoy the dressing, but I really am I've always wanted to try and make these. So I really, once you send out the recipe, I'm gonna play with it and see what I can make happen. We might even, because Shannon, we like to try new stuff for our holiday meals. We used your cook along food as medicine from Cigna to make our Thanksgiving meal, and we might even try this for our Christmas meal.
Oh, yay. I love that. I hope you do. It's such a fun and interactive meal, and what better time to be interactive than at the holidays. So I have cut I've cut a half cucumber on the bias, meaning on a diagonal, fancy word, we're just going to add this right to our little salad. And like I said, guys, I'm keeping the salad so simple. So simple. You could get as fancy with it as you wanted to, but I wanted to keep it really simple because the star of the show is our spring roll. So I'm now going to take the cucumber, the other half that I halved that, and now I'm going to create little slices with it because this is what's going to lay inside of my spring roll. I love to cook, and so getting to cook for some of my colleagues on this show is so much fun. Keep in mind, this is something that we can take on the road too. I've done cooking demos at various work sites for crews. So keep that in mind if that's something that you think that your work site would appreciate once I'm back in February or so under your new carrier. I'd be happy to arrange that with you. So we've got our cucumbers sliced pretty thinly here. And if I was at home, like I said, I'd be arranging all this stuff on various plates and letting everybody kind of have at it. It's a really quick throw together type of meal, and I love that. Okay, so we've got our lettuce leaves. We have our little cucumber guys. I'm going to take some of this cilantro and just kind of rough chop it for our salad. I like to do that to incorporate all the flavors together so that all the meal kind of has similar flavors. I really enjoy that. So we've got our cilantro in our salad. And of course, gotta have a little carrot. We'll add a little bit of carrot there. Now I'm gonna keep the dressing on the side because people like different amounts of dressing. We've got that all put together. A nice little green salad here so that people can enjoy that alongside their plate. Now, something that I teach people as a dietitian, if you are looking for blood sugar control, I highly encourage you, whenever you can, eat veggies first at a meal. Bonus points if your salad dressing contains some sort of vinegar, because that is going to help control that blood sugar. The fiber in the veggies and the vinegar, both are going to help level out the blood sugar before we eat that carbohydrate source, which for us today is going to be those fresh wraps. Speaking of those, let's get that party started. So I have my glass plate here. I've got my wrap here. Now, I'm gonna be candid with you guys. People are not always pretty. So I know we've got a couple minutes left on the clock. Let's get this going. So I'm dunking this here. Let me scoot this over. I'm dunking this into my water. And I'm making sure that it's lightly covered. And then I give it a couple seconds and it starts to get kind of pliable. And then gently take it out. Set it on a plate. So I might need a little bit more time. My 30 seconds and the rice paper's 30 seconds are clearly not the same. All right, here we go. That's a little bit more malleable. Okay, so I'm going to set this guy right on our plate. I'm going to add a little piece of lettuce right to the center. I'm going to add a couple slices of cucumber. I'm going to add a couple shreds of carrot. You could put your sauce inside. I like to serve the sauce on the side. I think it's like a nice little dip on the side. And then I'm going to add some fresh cilantro right to it. And of course, the star of our show, some shrimp. I'm going to take 2 of these shrimp. Ooh, that water's cold. 2 of these shrimp, put these guys right on top. Now, to roll this up, let me see if I can come around and show y'all our setup right here before we start rolling it up. So here's our plate. You can see our setup. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold one side over, tuck in both the other sides, and then roll the rest. So let's get that going.
Mine's
All right.
like diapering back in the day.
I'm sure. Not too different. Just like that. There we go. Look at that. Again, like I said, not super pretty, but super delicious. And you can make these bigger if you wanted to by adding more veggies into it. I am going to continue rolling up the rest of our spring rolls. Feel free to hop on with me or stay on with me if you have the time. If not, it's been an awesome year doing Cook Along Kitchen for you guys. I am so glad that I get to do this and to be here with each of you, showing you how to make good meals for yourselves, for your loved ones, for work. Please stay and hang around with me if you have the time. If not, I look forward to seeing you next year. And I wish you a very, very healthy December and a bright new year. Take care, everybody. And please, like I said, if you have the time to stick around, do so. Hang out with me, ask questions. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to keep the room open until I'm done working on these spring rolls today.
Hey, Shannon, when you schedule for like on site, is it only lunch or can you do breakfast type of thing?
I'm sure we could make whatever your site wanted. We can make it
Well,
happen with
you
enough
mentioned
time in
like two
advance.
guys, so most of the time it would probably be more. It'd be better early morning than it is to get them back in for lunch.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So yeah, once I'm back, let's talk about that, Debbie. I'd love to do something like that for you guys.
Yeah, I'll ask her at our next staff meeting and see if there's enough people that would be interested in it. But well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Talk to you later.
Okay, take care.
All right, bye.
So Shannon, while you're rolling, question for you.
Yes.
I have heard from some sources that blending fruits or veggies destroys their fiber, and I've heard from other sources that it does nothing of the sort. What do you say?
Yeah, great question. So fiber, let's talk kind of technical here. Fiber is in the plant, the wall of the cell of the plant. So destroy that wall of the cell of the plant when we're chewing, when we're blending, or when we're cooking. It still has a fibrous content to it, right? But the fiber that is in like a veggie platter of a piece of broccoli is going to be a little bit different than if we blend it down to make it into broccoli soup, right? Fiber is still there. It's just a different chemical, like kind of composition of the fiber, if that makes sense.
Awesome, it totally does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I think we got a quiet and hungry crowd today. I love it. We've got our second spring roll put together, prettier than the first. See, I told you they get better with time. And be able to have fun with this, right? They're not going to be beautiful if you've never tried this before. They're probably not going to be pretty up front, but they're going to be edible and they're going to be delicious.
Hey, I think anything that looks delicious is also pretty.
That's true. Pretty because it looks delicious. Absolutely. If you wanted to, you could add some nuts to this, even some chopped peanuts or cashews inside would add a nice texture. So you can get as creative as you want here. Any request for food demos next year? Any foods that you'd like to see made?
I'll have to
Maybe
give that some thought.
Yeah, maybe so. I think we'll do some more plant-based cooking. People really enjoyed that this year. And, you know, it promotes heart health, overall health, bowel health, blood sugar regulation, you name it. We'll definitely incorporate some more plant-based eating next year. I look
I'm
forward to
intrigued
that.
with Debbie's question about breakfast.
Yeah,
Because, you know, breakfast or brunch items can be eaten any time of day. So, might want to consider some of those.
absolutely.
We have a question, recipes printout. So Shannon usually emails the recipes out to the attendees afterwards. So
Mhm.
you will get them.
Yep, absolutely. You will get the recipes and you'll also get the recording from today's session. So as long as you're registered, you will get that stuff this afternoon. Yep, I like to give you guys the recipes because, I mean, more than anything, I want you guys to be able to go home and make this, recreate it, play with the flavors, see what you like, see what you don't like, tweak it a little bit. I mean, I know that some people come back to me and say, oh my gosh, I love this. And I've made it, you know, X number of times. I want to keep making it. So that brings me a lot of joy. Okay. The water in my rice paper bowl is a little bit cold, so I think it's taking a little longer to soften. That's okay. We got all the time in the world. Has anybody ever made these at home before? No? Good. I get to bring you something new. I love that. I know I sure do love ordering these when we're out at local Asian restaurants. So it's fun to be able to make them at home too. We are just about wrapped up. Dun-dun-dun. We've got one more wrap to make here.
Unintended.
Pun totally intended. I am food pun queen. That's for sure. These come together so easily. I mean, I've even meal prepped these before for our work week. Super easy lunch. Like I said, the wrap itself, 2 wraps is only 14 or 15 grams of carbs, 14 grams. That's a really low carb meal. Typically, people consume anywhere between 30 and 75 grams of carbs in a meal. So this is a pretty low carb meal, but the protein, the fat from the sauces and the dressing, and then the fiber from the veggies will be really satisfying, keep you full for quite some time. I like to make these sometimes at home. We'll saute up some really nice quality organic beef and some onions with it, and do a little bit of soy sauce or hoisin sauce in there. And then we'll serve them hot. These are going to be more of a cold wrap. You can really do it either way. It's a little harder to wrap them, to roll them up when they're warm though. Any other questions?
So what happens if you throw 2 or 3 of them in the water at the same time? Do they get too soft and start falling apart if they're in there for too long?
So they do. They start to rip. I have done double wrap where I do 2 because my filling is maybe bigger or something like that. I need it to stick together a little bit better. So I've done 2 before. That's not too bad. They don't stick together too bad, but I don't know about doing multiple at a time. Like more than that, I would be curious about that. But it would expedite things, certainly.
Yeah, you should have a kid on patrol. They're in charge of the wrap soaking. Give them a little
Yes,
timer and let them go to town.
exactly. Gotta put those kids to work, right? These are looking so good. All right, last 2 little shrimpy guys here. And done. That is, guys, thank you so much for sticking around, hanging out with me all throughout this year on Cook Along Kitchen. I look forward to seeing you again next year. Take care. Be well.